1015 FM, 720 AM. KDON, the talk of Las Vegas.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Las Vegas. This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. 1 full hour of wrestling news, entertainment, and lots of Sin City surprises from inside the squared circle. Now, let's bring on the tag team of Andrew Fish Fain, Joe DeFalco, and your host, Mark Hoke.
You know, I was flipping Jared off in the booth before the show started, our amazing producer in here. The man who runs the board at KDON when I'm not. Which, so I probably shouldn't be doing that, but you know, it's a Stone Coldy kind of thing. Stone Cold. Well, Fish. Stone Cold! Stone Cold! No?
I'm just enjoying your Jim Ross impersonation.
Wow. Unbelievable. Maybe I'll get a reaction from Joe DeFalco, but welcome to the Mark Hoke Show. Thanks for being with us.
You're lucky I'm even on the show today. I twisted my ankle and they put me in concussion protocol.
Oh.
Now that was a brilliant line.
There we go. See, we're all on the same page on this one, I think. Well, thanks for being with us. We are the #1 professional wrestling show in Las Vegas, and to hell with it, the world. Screw Meltzer. Who needs him? No, I'm kidding. Dave Meltzer's all right. But thanks for being with us.
And he gives the show a 5-star show, so there you
go. Yeah, we get 7 stars on the 5-star scale. That's what we need to do. I'm Mark Hoke. Thanks for being with us here on KDWN, 1015 FM, 720 AM on your dials, buttons, apps, whatever. Thanks for joining us.
On your interwebs.
Yes, the grumpy one, Andrew Fish Fain, is across the way.
I was the grumpy one.
Oh, he's grumpy today. No, you're more plotting in the corner.
Yeah, only 1 out of 7 dwarves can be grumpy.
Yeah.
You know, that's my gimmick. Don't gimmick infringement. Right?
Joe DeFalco from Future Stars of Wrestling. And make sure you go to FSW Vegas. Check out the Academy and all the great events that Joe puts on. Gentlemen, what's up? Fish, how are you? You doing okay?
It's been kind of a slow week for wrestling news, hasn't it?
Shut up. Joe, how are you?
You know, I happened to wake up and it was like, oh, there's a wrestling show on. I'm going to actually watch it. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe I watched it.
Should have stayed asleep.
Oh.
I was mind-boggled by the booking of the Usos Viking Raiders match, and then mind-boggled once again that they did pretty much the exact same thing in back-to-back matches.
They did.
That was one of the worst things I have ever seen in my life.
What we are, of course, referring to, crushing, destroying, is yesterday's Elimination Chamber match from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Oh, my God.
The plane didn't get stuck in Saudi Arabia again for like 24 hours, right?
Jeez, it should have get stuck, though. As last night, or actually, well, it would be yesterday morning here in the West Coast. A lot of bleh took place.
Yeah.
It was another one of those WWE pay-per-views. That
premium events.
Sorry, I got to get it. I got a premium live event. I'm sorry. Don't want Vince to get mad at me about the terminology. That just, to me, was another. We went through the motions. We have great performers that are being stuck doing.
I mean, there were a couple of high spots.
Yeah.
But overall, it was a very meh show.
Yeah. I mean, that's, as
How
MJF
about
would
a
say,
show, somebody gets dropped on his head, he bounces up, and he continues the match while another guy gets thrown into a pod and hits a guy in his leg, and he can no longer compete.
That's
And
exactly
he's
what Mark said before the show started, as we were discussing it.
Well, let's go through this real quick because we have other news, of course, with Cody Rhodes leaving AEW in a shocker.
And Stone Cold.
And Undertaker news. So but we gotta talk about this nightmare that took place.
Impact probably had the best show of the night.
Man, I wish I'd have watched it.
Me too.
Yeah,
Yeah, me three. Honor no more.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get to that with all this going on. So we start off the kickoff show with The Miz against Rey Mysterio.
Yawn.
They had a match. Apparently, it was okay. I kind of passed on that one.
Thankfully, I was asleep, so I didn't have to whip into this one, too.
What yawns me about it is the fact that they're setting up, as you said, a tag team match between the Mysterios and The Miz and Logan Paul.
What the hell?
That's the only thing that excites me about the match. I was hoping it'd be Jake Paul, but we can't even get the Good Brother.
This is just not. No. Jesus Christ, no.
Mysterio is going to turn. I think Dominic's going to turn there, Fish.
Perfect. See, I didn't even need to say it. So thank you, Joe.
With Eva Marie as the manager.
That's exactly right. Eva Marie's going to come down.
So we get through that. We start the show off, and Roman Reigns and Goldberg. And by the way, I will say the crowd was really hot. They were pumped up for this.
The crowd in Saudi Arabia. I don't know if you saw any of the tweets about the show afterwards. They were just killing Goldberg.
In that situation, they would never treat an Undertaker or Austin that way. Like, they'll bring in Goldberg, and he'll get beat up in 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Like, his legacy means nothing to Vince McMahon because he's a WCW guy. So it's like having him on, it's become cringeworthy having him wrestle.
And they used him to be that veteran classic guy to fill in that spot for these cards in Saudi Arabia. That they figured out something to do with him. But the match,
absolutely. They probably got an extra $4 million to have Goldberg on the show, and they give him 2. So Vince made another 2. Always making moves.
There you go. And the match itself, with a weird ending. And if you didn't see it, of course, if you get to the ropes in a wrestling match and you're in a hold, the person's supposed to break the hold. So Roman Reigns has Goldberg in a guillotine choke. Goldberg fights his way to the ropes, and not only does he get one, it wasn't a finger, 2 hands in the corner, holding Roman Reigns in there to get out of this hold, and the referee doesn't break it. Roman Reigns pulls him back out, and Goldberg passes out, and he loses. What a botch.
That's the way we protected him. That's the way they protected him. It should have been stopped anyway. But I heard a big rumor that Goldberg will be on Dynamite Wednesday, and he's going to beat Hangman Page for the AEW Championship. So that's just a rumor I heard. Might have been in my sleep last night, but that was the rumor I heard.
Yeah, well, I heard a rumor you got a broken heart. There, I did a little Bananarama there for you.
Jeez, you're pulling it out from the 80s.
Yes, you bet. You betcha. Jared's giving me a clap.
I thought we were doing 80s references. I was giving you a Duggan.
Cleaning out my house and getting my records. I found a few Bananarama records, by the way, and that was one of them.
I didn't buy that.
It's been a cruel summer.
Is the
Robert De Niro is waiting,
Venus in the
speaking
sky?
Italian, yes.
Anyway, Elimination Chamber match for the women.
Like I said, the Alexa Bliss Code Red was a nice spot.
Yeah, it was all right. It was okay. I gotta imagine though. I kind of was, when I was watching this, I was like, this is the S&M match.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to turn it on during that match. Thank goodness.
Yeah, if you don't know, of course, the women have to stay covered up. And when they first wrestled a match over there with Natty and Lacey Evans, they were wearing bodysuits with a T-shirt on top. Well, now they're at least letting them wear full body costumes. And I got to tell you, you're breaking out the latex.
Looked like a slumber party.
Oh, yes, it was either pajamas or we're headed to the dungeon, one of the two.
And shock of the night, Bianca Belair wins.
Yeah, Bianca wins. So, of course, Bianca will be now facing Becky.
The winner of the Becky Lynch Lita match.
At WrestleMania. So, and it was okay, but it felt rushed. Not a lot of spots you're going to remember from it. It was just kind of there.
But it was good. It was good to see Alexa Bliss back in the ring, and just in general, because she hadn't wrestled, I think, since September, right?
Yeah, it'd been a while. So good to see her back. But overall, it was. Yeah.
I don't know how the division survived without her for those 5 months.
We have the Ronda Rousey and Naomi against Charlotte and Sonya match with Ronda.
How weird was that?
One hand tied behind her back.
Isn't that burying everybody by having Ronda beating everybody up with one hand tied around her back?
Yeah, it's not helpful. It was, I like the finish a little bit where Ronda had Sonya Deville in the armbar, and Charlotte dared Charlotte to get in the ring, and Charlotte was like, "Screw that, I'm going home."
Charlotte Cartman.
That's right. I heard she called an Uber, and she got out of there.
She was gone. But Sonya actually went. They actually had Sonya kind of walk up to her at the end of the match when they were walking out together, and I was like, I don't know if I would have done that. I'd have been a little angry.
Yeah,
but otherwise, once again,
It
nothing
accomplished
you're
what
going to
they
remember.
wanted it to do, were Rousey's, which they didn't need to do because everybody knows Ronda is. They built her up that way there. They did a great job taking a chick who in UFC was getting pummeled to now being like the toughest girl in the world.
Yeah, the female Brock Lesnar.
Right.
And you got to remember, and one thing about Sonya Deville, she was in MMA too.
Yes, she was.
Along with Shayna Baszler, and I mean, there's a lot of ladies that are pretty legit tough in WWE, and I don't like them getting buried. But there was another match. Then we had one, and there were two things that I thought were really interesting about this match. Drew McIntyre against Madcap Moss. It's a falls count anywhere, no DQ. Happy Corbin's out there. They're both clobbering Drew at every chance they got. Drew's managing to fight his way through it.
I just love that Happy Corbin keeps running away.
Yeah. Madcap Moss takes
hellacious.
And I actually kind of like Moss a little bit. I've been slightly impressed with what he's been doing in the ring and some of the stuff in promos. Moss takes a massive fall off an Alabama Slam. Drew flips him over his shoulders, and Moss hits straight on his head. I mean, compacted his neck, and it did not look good.
No.
Credit to Corbin.
Thank God the ring's a trampoline, so it's fine.
Yeah. Well, credit to Corbin. Jumps in the ring right away. I mean, he didn't wait.
No.
He got right in there, so Moss, if he was hurt or needed time to recover, could get out, and Corbin got in there and messed around with McIntyre. So
it was false count anywhere, no DQ, right?
Yes.
So why did Corbin stop beating down Drew and hang out on the side? Why didn't they just beat him down 2-on-1 the entire match?
I don't know.
Because that wouldn't end up with the finish that we wanted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
It makes it seem like Corbin's just a moron.
Well, he is.
Well,
there you go. So yeah, he added to his legacy right there.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I like the ending. This is where Corbin's goofiness can kind of play a little bit, because McIntyre, if you don't know, brings a rather large sword out to the ring. So if you're in a 2-on-1 situation where you're wrestling this one guy and this other guy keeps jumping on you every once in a while, well, what do I do to get rid of the second guy? I grab my sword.
I stab him with the sword.
I grab the sword.
I got arrested for
Corbin
doing that
gets in the
once.
ring. He grabs the sword. He swings it at Corbin, who, it wasn't even close, but swings the sword at Corbin. Corbin goes running away, and McIntyre finishes off the match. I thought that was kind of cool. I thought it was cool.
If I'm booking the show, I just falls count anywhere, no DQ. I just stab them both in the chest and pin them both.
That would have worked too.
I was going to say I haven't decapitate Corbin, but yeah, I'll go with the stab in the chest.
Nick Gage would have did that.
Yes, he would have. But it wasn't a bad match.
And now we get to look forward to Drew. Now he gets his WrestleMania moment against Happy Corbin. Yeah. Wow, can't wait for that one.
Yep.
Kickoff show.
How the mighty have fallen. Raw Women's Championship, Becky Lynch takes on Lita.
The only thing that impressed me again was Lita was able to look decent in that. In other words, she didn't look like Goldberg coming back. She looked like she'd been wrestling for a while.
She had a couple, but as the match went on, I thought she did better.
Not to me, man. I thought she hit a couple of, she did the twist of fate into the moonsault, whatever. But I thought she looked kind of atrocious the entire match.
Yeah, I thought she got better as she went along, but yeah, there were some spots.
I won't even comment on the Botox cheeks, but whatever.
Poor Lita. But once again,
she almost looked like a different person to me. That's what it was.
I agree with you. But once again, it was a match that had a predictable ending. You knew Lita wasn't going to win. The crowd was hot for it.
Right, but she was the perfect person to go over there. The crowd showed the respect. She's done so much in the business. It was cool to see, but it's like sometimes, it was like when you saw Muhammad Ali fight Larry Holmes that last time. It's like, yeah, it's great to see him back, but stay home.
Yeah. Please don't let us see it again.
But I almost have a feeling we're going to see her again.
Yeah, well, she said you heard her on Raw last time. She goes, "I don't have just a match in me; I have a run in me."
I don't know about that.
That's what she said. I'm not saying it's
what
actually
she
true.
Way to start off the run with the big L.
Yep. I don't know if we can call this an L or not, but I've been kind of laughing at CBS Sports' summary of this match that didn't happen. The Usos were supposed to wrestle the Viking Raiders for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. And in another bizarre, how did this happen? I was screaming at my daughter about this one. The Viking Raiders come down the aisle. The Usos attack them. And boy, we've never seen anybody get attacked before a match before.
No.
And the match just goes on.
They
with
slam
them.
Ivar onto Eric.
And all of a sudden, it's a no contest. The match is not taking place. And Joe, you said you flew, and I saw you said this on Facebook. Those guys flew all the way over to Saudi Arabia to do that. The Usos didn't get involved in anything else the rest of the night, Roman or anything like that. They came down and did a little beat down, and it was like, oh, we can't wrestle now.
Right, but it was like, geez, at least lay him out, blood, make it seem like they killed him. It was like, really? That stopped a match from happening?
Now, my question is, there had to be a reason behind that going on. One of the four players was injured to a certain extent or something.
No, they wanted to save it for where many more people are watching it on SmackDown on Friday.
But nobody was hurt.
Then what's
this
the
was
reason?
Planned, apparently.
What's the reason of planning that ridiculous an angle?
WWE creative. That's
but
the reason.
Problem
Do I
is,
have to say anything else?
As bad as that was, they immediately followed it up with almost the exact same scenario. Like, then if you're going to do that, make that match two. You're going to do it back to back, the semi-main and the main. You're going to take two people out with. When you're watching it, you can't believe that this is actually happening, and then it happened again 10 minutes later.
Mm-hmm. Not good.
Not good at all.
Not good.
Man.
Speaking of that,
Shane McMahon came back to book those matches.
Oh, I heard Vince Russo came back to book that. WWE Championship Elimination Chamber match. Here we go.
The one thing they did do in this match is they're elevating Austin Theory, obviously.
Yeah, he got elevated the wrong way.
Well, they made him last.
I was hoping Austin Theory won. I'm like, come on, let's let that Theory win.
Yeah, we were talking about some different possibilities before he came on the air. We'll mention it, but Lashley's defending the title in the Elimination Chamber with Lesnar, Rollins, Riddle, Austin Theory, and AJ Styles. Early on in the match, Seth Rollins. Well, Lashley's in a pod, so he can't go anywhere.
Everyone's in a pod except for Rollins and Theory.
Rollins throws Theory into Lashley's pod, which knocks Lashley over about 18 inches. He supposedly hits his head and is dragged out of the chamber by officials.
Yeah.
And they say concussion protocol. He's out.
Well, I love it. During the match, he goes, "Oh, we have breaking news."
Now, of course, we just had a guy who got dropped squarely on his head. And the match continued. He didn't get a concussion protocol. He could have broken his neck. But somehow the 18 inches that Bobby Lashley's head moved, as we watch wrestling all the time with getting hit into ring posts and tables and barricades and turnbuckles and get hit with chairs and kendo sticks and everything else. But this little fall, and poor Bobby Lashley is in concussion protocol.
Well, he's a little China doll.
And he's out. So as we go through, we're down to 2 pods left. They still flashed Bobby's pod as they were trying to decide if it was going to be Lashley or Lesnar. It lands on Lashley's pod. Lesnar's furious, crashes out of his pod.
Which is my favorite. That's my favorite moment of the match, is watching Lesnar crash out of the pod.
We then bury Seth Rollins with 1 F5, Riddle with 1 F5, AJ Styles with 1 F5. Austin Theory is now left in there
running
with
around
Lesnar.
like a chicken with his head cut off, scared to death of Lesnar.
Well, they set some records. The shortest elimination chamber ever, 4 eliminations to end the match in less than 3 minutes. So, history was made.
Yeah, there you go.
And
of course, another low blow to Lesnar was the only offense Theory got.
Theory got a low blow in, and then he tries to climb away up the chamber. And Lesnar pulls him down, F5s him off the pod, then rolls him in the ring, and it's over. And Brock Lesnar is now the WWE champion.
But, if instead of a 3 count, it was a 1.5 count, Austin Theory could have been the champion.
Okay, I got you.
It's like they didn't even give him a 2 count on that.
Yeah, it's like, get it over.
It was like, can't even give the guy a 2 count.
Yeah, we got to
get. We know he's kicking out, but come on, can we have some suspense at all in this match? It's just but like we said last week, we knew there's no way Lesnar can lose. What are they going to do? And it was just like, this is what they did to make Lashley not lose.
Yeah, the only thing we didn't know at the time was that Lashley needs shoulder surgery, which is why he was taken out of that match.
Yeah, so that explained a lot.
Yeah, he needs shoulder surgery. I thought they were going to make it to turn into a 3-way at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, after the match was over, I was sitting like, what the hell happened? And then I saw the reports came out that Bobby Lashley apparently hurt his shoulder really badly
at the Royal Rumble.
That he's going to need surgery.
Yeah,
he's going to miss WrestleMania.
Yeah, he hasn't wrestled in house shows or anything since the Royal Rumble.
Right. So Lashley out. We won't see him at WrestleMania, which explains why they put Brock into that match, because we were questioning that last week or a couple weeks ago. And now we have a title versus title match.
And but that is confirmed as a title. They have not yet said if it's a unification bout or if someone will have 2 titles.
So, but I thought they said that it was basically winner takes all.
It is winner take all, but then the question:
will they unify the titles?
Are they going to unify the titles and make one title? So let me ask you guys: we've got about 2 minutes. Is this a good idea to have a title versus title match, concerning what could happen afterward? If they don't unify the titles, well, now somebody's got to lose twice. You're going to hurt them, and now one of your Supermen is going to get made to look bad twice.
No, because what's going to happen if in the title, what they're going to have is someone win unclean, so no one wins either title. So Lesnar stays the WWE champ. Reigns keeps the Universal title, so they each only have 1 belt.
No. There's no way they're not going to do a finish in that match.
Then if they do a finish, then you're right.
They've got to do a finish.
Lesnar's going to lose. Lesnar has to lose. We never know his contract. He probably loses and disappears for a year or so.
Right. I think Lesnar's going to go off the scene for a while. But
that's the buildup that they have to have. Roman Reigns. That's got to be that signature win for him.
But then you have to have Reigns, as Mark had said to me before the show, then you have to have Reigns lose twice at some point. Once to lose the WWE Championship and once to lose the Universal Championship.
Well, I'm going to think that they're going to make it the 1 title. And if they're not going to make him lose, because they're not going to be like, today's only the Raw title and this one is the Universal title. It'll be either 2 things. They combine the belts and it's 1 belt, or they say, well, he's not going to hold 2 belts, so we're now going to have a tournament on Monday Night Raw.
Jiminy Christmas.
To crown a new champion.
All right. Well,
and Lesnar will win that tournament.
Okay, well, we'll talk about this more when we come back, because we're getting ready to head to break. Don't forget, we would certainly appreciate if you'd follow us at Twitter, The Mark Hoke Show, Facebook, The Mark Hoke Show. Twitter, Mark Hoke Show, Facebook, The Mark Hoke Show, markhokeshow.com. And, of course, markhokeshow.podbean.com.
So what are you saying the name? What are you saying the name of this place is? The name of the show is?
It's called Ricky Tikki Tavi.
That's what I thought.
Now, but thanks for being with us. Hey, we're going to come back more. Cody Rhodes, co-founder of AEW. He gone.
Stone Cold.
Wow. And Stone Cold Steve Austin making a return? You got to be kidding me. Stick around, everybody. We'll be right back on The Mark Hoke Show. Thanks for joining us.
1015 FM, 720 AM. KDON, the talk of Las Vegas.
You're listening to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Vegas, The Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Now, here again is Mark Hoke.
Sorry, we were just
And
having
that just dawned on me that that's a shot at Vince McMahon.
Yeah, Fish, and I don't want to embarrass Fish on the air.
That's
here
all
on
right.
the Mark
I'm
Hoke
embarrassed
Show.
enough.
But Fish did not know that if you remember Virgil, who was the manservant, I guess, for
Ted
a worse
DiBiase.
term for Ted DiBiase, did not know that calling him Virgil was a slam on Dusty Rhodes, of course, whose real name is
Virgil Runnels.
Yeah.
But then it just dawned on me that when he went to WCW, they called him Vincent,
and they changed it to Vincent,
which is a slam on Vince McMahon.
Right, so they slammed it back.
It's like a tennis
I
match.
heard when Cody Rhodes comes back to WWE, his name's going to be
Stardust?
Virgil Runnels.
That would be unbelievable. Well, and there's your lead in. I didn't plan that, but thank you for setting me up there. Of course,
That's
Andrew
why
Fish
I'm on the show.
I was talking about Fish. I wasn't talking about you.
Oh,
Sorry, Joe. Joe DeFalco from Future Stars of Wrestling. Make sure you go to fswvegas.com and see what Joe's got going on here in the city of bright lights. Wrestling all over the place. And I'm Mark Hoke. Thanks for being with us. The news broke on Tuesday. And I got to tell you, shocking. No other word for it. That Cody Rhodes, one of the co-founders of All Elite Wrestling, could not come to an agreement with Tony Khan, and he's out. He and Brandy, his wife, have left AEW. So the people that put all this together to give everybody the alternative, well, one of them's out, and apparently he is going to be headed to WWE. A lot of reaction to this and a lot of why did this happen. As far as
being all the animosity that he had toward WWE.
Yeah, I mean, didn't he destroy
everything and the copyrights and this and that? And it's like, wow, I guess as long as you're getting paid, and Brandy's guaranteed 7 women's championship runs, so it should be great.
Didn't Cody destroy a throne that was taken on Triple H's throne?
They're taking pot shots all the time. He had the golden shovel. And there was so much animosity between him and Vince McMahon, as Joe mentioned.
It's always a work. It's always a work. Cody Rhodes was on a plane to Saudi Arabia. It was a giant work. He was going to come back with Brian Cage and 3 others and stay in AEW, or they were going to take Brian Cage and they were all going to come to WWE. Within like 4 days, there was like 600 different Cody Rhodes scenarios, which some were extremely entertaining.
Yeah, there was a lot of rumors flying around. But a lot of discussion about why it happened, and
the two things I heard were A, he wanted too much money, and B, his wife is not the most popular person in the locker room.
Well, but what I heard mostly was that Cody, of course, they had stripped all the
EVP power,
which would be Cody, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks, from their booking duties. So Tony Khan's doing all the booking, and Cody did
I'm
not.
1,000% behind that. Cody wasn't getting his way in the way that they were putting together, where he got to kind of do what he wanted to do. And, I've heard some stories from, his days in Ring of Honor. So putting 2 and 2 together, and then, if you see the Kenny Omega post, he kind of alluded to, Cody had his own ideas of where it should go. Mm-hmm. And it was vastly different than Omega's, Tony Khan's, and the Young Bucks. So who's going to win that war? The boss? Because Tony Khan came in, bringing these guys in, and then he got the taste, and now he wants to be the man. He wants to be, when things are said positively, it isn't, Cody or the Young Bucks. It was, Tony Khan made these moves. Just like every move he's got is the biggest move in the world, and then all of a sudden, the guy from Japan shows up. Was not Jay White. Wasn't Jay White. The other one.
Suzuki? Is that who you're talking about?
No. The American dude who just showed up.
Yeah, Jay White.
When Keith Lee showed up.
Yeah, Jay White.
Oh, wait, okay, yeah, Jay White, because he was an Impact. So, but it was like, you know, every move is a monumental move, and it never is, you know. But Tony Khan obviously has an ego to where he wants to be perceived as the man, and I'm pretty sure Cody felt he was the man. And I don't think any money had anything to do with it because they're paying everybody. I think it's the other part, and you know, Brandy kind of lost her. She's terrible, and like they had her lead the division because he didn't know any better. And as Tony Khan learned, it was like, oh, that's a horrible move, and he did what he felt was necessary for his own company, which is what he needs to do.
Yeah, and you know, they apparently the talk was Cody wanted $3 million, which for all he was doing doesn't seem like it was a bad number. So I think a lot of it just came down from what everybody said. And Kenny Omega did an interview with Wrestling Observer that was really good. And just like you said, Joe, it seemed like Cody wanted to go one way and everybody else wanted to go the other way. And Cody wanted to go to was more gung ho to go to war with WWE. And, of course, you know, there's a lot of animosity between Cody and his family and Vince McMahon. So, you know, he wanted to put the screws to Vince, and everybody else is like, look, let's just do our thing. And, you know, that vision apparently just didn't clash. And then when Cody lost his power, it was, you know, Cody was ticked off. And to
he's
a point,
the first guy that runs back to Vince. So figure that one out.
Yeah, and that's so hard to picture for me because of, you know, if you don't know, Cody was in massive legal fights with McMahon and WWE over trademarks. He, you know, I mean, wouldn't let him use the Rhodes name for a long time. You know,
I can't believe it. I'm excited. We're going to see Dashing Cody Rhodes, and then Stardust is going to come back. It's going to be awesome.
Oh,
good Lord, no.
But apparently,
and then we get Vince McMahon versus Cody Rhodes because that's as big as, you know, Vince and Steve Austin or Bret Hart. So
he could do Shane. I don't know if Vince could wrestle at this point.
No, Vince cannot wrestle at this point.
But you know, it's going to be very interesting if Cody does really go to WWE, how they're going to use him, and you know,
where are they going to put him? Like, he's going to be the champion? He's going to be the one that's throwing Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, or Bobby Lashley? Come on.
He's going to be the 24/7 champion.
Yes. Yeah.
I've seen that meme. But I question. You know, I almost wonder if these guys just needed to separate for a little while. You know, kind of like a couple that, you know, has been in love for a long time and things just kind of, you know, faded away a little bit.
And their love affair hasn't been that long.
Yeah, and then you kind of realize, you know, this is where I really should be. I just wonder if, you know, but to a point I see where Cody would be coming from, because Cody, I think, has aspirations outside of wrestling. Obviously, he did, you know, the Go Big Show. Had the Roads to the Top
which
show.
has still apparently been picked up again for another season. So
yeah, they're not sure.
That's why, he waited because, you know, I think that $3 million number is just a number that he knew they may not want to match at all and use that as the excuse. But he's gotten like 2 TV shows out of the fact he was in AEW that he would have never gotten, you know. So there's definitely not a dollars and cents thing there. You know, it's just like, you know, he's gotten notoriety. He's gotten his own TV shows, and that was all based on AEW being on TNT. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's nothing but a power play, and he's butthurt because he lost what he had. You know, I heard years ago, and I've heard that story forever from the inner workings of people I know in Ring of Honor, that Cody Rhodes was on his way out, and he aligned, and nobody cared. He wasn't over. And when he became buddies with the Young Bucks, and then they started running together, and then they did the stuff in Japan, all of a sudden Cody became a big deal. And I've heard from numerous people that, you know, there was that click and there was the rest of Ring of Honor. And most people were not enamored at all with Cody Rhodes. So,
and that's what a lot of reports have been coming out. You know, some people have publicly said, you know, that Cody and Brandy, you know, were great contributors and, you know, we got along with them. But there's a lot of people that have also said anonymously, and, you know, reports come out that they've said, you know, we're kind of relieved that they're gone. So
she added nothing. She added nothing to the table.
No, but the funny thing is WWE is counting this as a big feather in their cap with Cody Rhodes leaving AEW.
Yeah, and certainly that's going to be exploited, I would imagine.
Absolutely.
You know?
Oh, I can't wait for the Cody Rhodes X-Pac promo when he gets on there and he buries the inner workings of the Young Bucks and Tony Khan. And, you know, the only way you get in with Tony Khan is if you're hanging out with him partying, which is what I hear. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, it's a really tricky situation, and I think, and honestly, I don't know if anybody wins with this. You know, I don't think
we win if there's some good dirt slinging.
Well, that's true, but otherwise,
Yeah,
but
like again, I didn't care about him there, and I thought, you know, really, you're going to make Guevara lose the belt to you again, like you needed it. So
see, I thought that was just a thing because the Go Big Show was premiering. To be frank, it was right at the same time.
What happened to him? Did he get traded to the minor leagues or something? Or is he hanging out with? He's on a world cruise with Mark Henry.
Wow. Oh, so do you guys think that if Cody Rhodes does go to WWE, that he's going to be pushed or buried?
I think he's pushed at first and then buried.
What do you think, Jones?
It's happened. Look at the track record. The Dudleys came back, they got pushed, and then became jobbers. I specifically spoke with Matt Hardy 2 weeks before he was going back to WWE because he wrestled our show right before he went back there to win the tag titles at WrestleMania. And he said, "Nah, I'm like, I even asked him that, like, well, how is it any different? You know, the Dudleys, no. You know, we talk with Vince. We're going to have creative control, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that." And 6 months later, Matt was just jobbing out. Like, you know, that's what they do. They bring in those guys to now try to bring in and enhance the younger guys to get wins over them. And Vince is notorious at that because in his eyes, the Hardys, the Dudleys, they're past their prime. You know, they did great things. Now it's their job to do that. But, you know, Matt had a whole different mindset. You know, it was the same thing when he went to AEW. The reason he went to AEW was he had creative control. He was going to do what he was going to do. And then he debuted in front of no audience where the delete stuff was an interactive thing that the fans liked. And when there's no fans, it kind of fell flat. And he kind of got stuck in a managerial role because they really didn't have anything for him. So everybody comes in with these ideas because obviously it's not in writing, because if it was in writing, then they couldn't do it.
Right.
So it's a word-to-word agreement. Oh, okay, yeah, we're going to take care of you, and then we don't feel like taking care of you anymore. See ya.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with Cody Rhodes. Speaking of bringing in enhancement talent.
Oh, good Lord. Is that where you're going with this?
Boogs, by the way. How come Rick Boogs didn't go to Saudi Arabia?
I don't know. By the way, I'd like to see a Rick Boogs
because
Madcap Moss tag team.
He's too busy consoling Shinsuke for losing the Intercontinental Championship to Sami Zayn.
I like a Moss Boogs tag team.
Rick Boogs.
I could picture those guys as like the new Fabulous Ones kind of style. It'd be kind of fun.
The new 3MB.
The new Fantastics.
I don't know if you go Fantastics, but you could go Fabulous Ones. You could dress them up.
You could go Buff Bagwell and who is he? Scotty
Riggs.
Scotty Riggs. There we go. Thank you.
Okay, maybe it is a bad idea. Anyway, speaking of the enhancement talent situation, guess who might be coming back
at WrestleMania
after 19 years of being away from the ring, mostly because of injuries and a little bit of burnout.
Stone Cold
Steve Austin is apparently, and it has not been announced yet, but is apparently going to be coming back to wrestle Kevin Owens at WrestleMania. And
they've obviously been setting this up with the whole Kevin Owens hating on Texas.
This is a very interesting development in terms of obviously Stone Cold coming back is
ratings grab.
Is going to be a ratings grab and a ticket grab. I had heard on Wrestling Observer that they had only sold about 44,000 tickets for each night at WrestleMania in a stadium that probably with wrestling capacity is going to be around 85 to 90, somewhere in there. So they're in a little bit of trouble on the ticket sales. So apparently,
I think they also overshot the fact that by making it 2 nights again. I think they had to do that for the pandemic, and Vince just saw dollar signs and let's do it 2 nights again. No, it what made WrestleMania work? It was a one-shot deal, 1 night period. Having it over 2 nights kind of to me lessens how special it is. Doesn't make it more special.
Now R-Truth gets to be on WrestleMania, so
There you go.
So, guys, your thoughts on Stone Cold Steve Austin coming back? I'll say my piece on this.
Well, I think him having a match isn't necessary. He can come in, Owens talks crap, bing, bang, boom, he gives him the stunner. Now, instead, they're going to have a match to where the one-time guy is going to come back and he's got to go over a guy that's potentially a champion in your company. But it is WWE. You could job out to Madcap Moss this week, and in a month you're the heavyweight champion. So it doesn't really matter.
Well, I'll say 2 things on that. One, I don't know if Steve has to win the match per se. It would be great for him to put Kevin Owens over. I think you've got to be really careful with this because you have to remember, of course, he didn't leave because he got a hernia. Obviously his the whole accident that happened with Owen Hart, his neck and is messed up. He's got bad knees. He's 57 years old. This is a risk for him to come back. I'm sure he's been staying active, obviously, with everything he does at his ranch and all that kind of stuff. You could see the guy hasn't been sitting around eating cookies. But boy, it's scary after 19 years. No matter who you are or how good you were, if you take 19 years off from doing a physical activity, you're not going to be the same, and your body's not the same. And to take this chance, I'm just worried that either A, he's going to tarnish his reputation, that it's going to be a bad match, or B, he could get hurt. So that's just where I'm coming from on it. Yeah, you're going to sell tickets, but
I don't think he's going to take a lot of bumps. Regardless, I think it's going to be like that Goldberg kind of in out. The match ain't going to last very long because it doesn't need to. It's the nostalgia of Steve Austin.
But then everybody's going to hate it. I mean, look what it's done to Goldberg. Everybody's like, "Oh, geez, don't."
Yeah, but there's a difference. The level of respect for Goldberg versus the level of respect for Stone Cold. You're gonna, no matter what Stone Cold does, people are gonna love it because he's Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Stunner and lays out Owens at the end of the match. Nobody's gonna do anything. Did Bret Hart's legacy get ruined because of that miserable WrestleMania match with Vince McMahon? Of course not.
The U.S. title match didn't help, but. I don't know. This is another. If you see what WWE's been doing lately, you're pulling out Lita, you're pulling out Goldberg, you're grabbing all these people that from the Attitude Era that just can't go anymore. Well, and since you buried the rest of your talent besides Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, what do you got? So you have to go to this well, and you're not selling tickets for WrestleMania, for God's sake. So we're gonna break the glass and go to Stone Cold Steve Austin and beg him to wrestle a match. I know they had talked about it before, but this just it reeks of desperation.
Yeah, but go back in time. Hulk Hogan against The Rock. Hogan was way past his prime. Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels. The legends have always been a part. Like, it was always like, who is the WWE going to bring in for WrestleMania? Because that's what they always did. And then it became, now John Cena's done. He's coming back. The Undertaker's done. Hey, he's going to wrestle AJ Styles. Because having the legends on there, nobody wants to see Drew McIntyre and Happy Corbin. I'd rather see, the APA reunite. It's like, that's how it is like wrestling shows. A guy like Hacksaw Jim Duggan is cared about more than Kurt Hawkins.
Yeah, but isn't that the fault of WWE for not making us care about the people that they have on the roster? And that to me is the big point. I remember other WrestleManias where I cared about that undercard. You wanted to see some of those matches. You think about Randy Savage and Rick Steamboat for one. I mean, even at WrestleMania 1, back when Greg Valentine wrestled Junkyard Dog, I cared about that match.
I cared about that more than I cared about the Roddy Piper.
Yeah, actually, you did,
Mr. T.
To
debacle.
So
Right, but that got the entertainment. It was a combination of things. Even more recent, when Jericho wrestled like Snuka in the Three Legends, that was a slot that was made, for Jericho there. And it's always been incorporating those guys, whether it's Cena now putting over Roman Reigns. And people, the nostalgia works, man. It's like that's why these conventions, guys like the Godfather and them, they can go out there and command more money to not wrestle than the talent who hasn't gotten over the last 10, 15 years, because there's so many of them. And it's just like, wait a second, why would I pay you that kind of money? You were like never cutting promos on TV, and you probably never won. So, the golden age of the 80s and the 90s, like I said, we had 25 stars and everybody knew who they were. Now there's 80 guys and you don't know who 90% of them are.
What they could do for this match is, just because you could have a guy like Shawn Michaels come in, they could have all the legends from Texas come and whip Kevin Owens' butt, because the whole idea is that Kevin Owens is ranking on Texas.
And finish it off with The Undertaker.
there's things you can do. And I have concern just because.
So I treat him like the Ascension.
That I just have concerns that Steve's just been away for way too long. That's just me. I don't want to see anything happen to Stone Cold.
And the other rumor, like I said, is the rumor is that there is another Stone Cold level surprise to come. I have no idea what the hell that could mean.
Well, could it be The Undertaker, who we want to make sure we mention is
in the Hall of Fame,
is now being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame? Probably the greatest character that Vince has created in his run as the chairman of the WWE. Yeah, we could sit here and talk about The Undertaker all night if we wanted to, but I'm excited to see this, and honestly, I wonder how many other people are going to go in with him, because, to be frank,
there's nobody on his level.
Could you just do a ceremony with The Undertaker and just leave it at that and do something really special for him? Fish?
Absolutely, and you also got to wonder who's going to induct him. Obviously, it would have been easy years ago to say, it's going to be Paul Bearer. Is it going to be Kane, or are you going to have somebody else? And there's
got to be Kane. How could it not be Kane?
It's got to be Kane.
And there's no doubt that Undertaker, if anyone deserves a night of their own, it would be Undertaker.
Joe, what would you do if you were going to do the Hall of Fame ceremony with The Undertaker? Would you have other people in, or would you just devote it to him?
Yeah, you have to. That's the ceremony. You're not going to go 2 hours of listening to them tell, Undertaker was a pretty private dude, and he was like the only one. Like, he'd go on other TV shows when he did, and he was still the Undertaker. Like, he didn't really break being that character, but obviously he's the main event of the Hall of Fame. But there's, I know Rikishi's pushing hard for Umaga to get in, and,
he's not a Hall of Famer, by the way. I'm just going to say that right off the bat. He is not a Hall of Famer. Umaga. No. No way.
No, but you're going to tell me Coco Beware and Nikolai Volkov are?
I completely agree with you.
Well, but the thing with, if you mentioned Nikolai Volkov, he had a long career and was used quite a bit before wrestling really took off. So
still a utility player. It's like Bucky Dent ain't making the Hall of Fame.
Good point.
Bucky effing Dent, yes.
Sorry, I had to defend Nikolai a little bit. Oh, he never knew the words.
No, of course he didn't.
He never knew the words. But yeah, it'll be an interesting Hall of Fame ceremony. But the Undertaker's impact on wrestling, and how he was able to reach out to outside the wrestling community. There's never been anybody like that guy, and you look at that, and even though I was mad that he beat Hulk Hogan way back when, his place in wrestling history. Is he in Mount Rushmore?
No, but that becomes part of the problem. Is the WWE is trying to always get back to the point where they had, because remember, they had Undertaker, Rock, and Stone Cold, three of the best characters in the history of the sport together, and
Mankind.
And Mankind, but
and of course you had Edge and Christian there.
Yeah, but you're right. But I'm talking about those guys are all great, and I'm not taking away from any of them. But I think Stone Cold, Undertaker, and The Rock are all on a level a little higher, and WWE can't get back to that because you can't There's nothing you can do to beat that, and they're always constantly trying, which is why they have to pull in a Goldberg, pull in a Stone Cold to try to get back to that level, and it just won't happen.
Let's see. I don't know if it just won't happen. I think you've got to progress a little bit, and I think Vince is.
Yeah, but they tried to push Roman Reigns down our throats as a babyface, and they wanted to make him the next John Cena, and it took that heel turn. But again, as a heel, there's only so much you can do because he's a heel.
Yeah, exactly.
So, he's made to not be liked by people. So when they wanted to try to make The Rock and for a short time Austin heels, it just didn't work.
Yeah, Joe, I hate to do it, but we got to wrap it up here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No problem. Yeah, but they couldn't make it work because nobody was going to dislike them.
Yeah, very true. Well, guys, thanks. Andrew Fish, Fain, Joe DeFalco.
Me.
Got it done today. Another great show on the Mark Hoke Show. We appreciate it on 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDON. You guys have a great weekend, or rest of your weekend. Enjoy yourselves, and don't bother watching Elimination Chamber. You heard what happened. Have a great night, everybody.